Okay, so let's talk about some boat stuff. I am going to paint the Outdrive. I thought I was going to paint the gimbal housing, but honestly, once I cleaned it up, it really doesn't need it. It's got a little grease on it. It's got a little bit of pitting and corrosion on one side, which I'll just brush some. I'll knock it down and then brush some little bit of primer on it and then some Rust-Oleum. But it doesn't need a whole new reshoot. And to be honest with you, to do it right, you got to take it completely apart. And that's just, it's got a brand new bellows in it, and I just don't want to mess with all that. Now I did get all new anodes, and I've ordered a seal kit for these trim rams. They're leaking like crazy, so I'll just reseal them. They'll be good to go. We'll actually paint the rams when they're off, but right now that's kind of where it sits. So what I did is I started sanding down the Outdrive. Really wasn't as bad as I thought. I had a little bit of pitting, you know, around some areas, and sanded those down, got rid of the stickers, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go get my engine hoist, and we're going to take this and we're going to hoist it up in the air with the bolts that I have on here that go through each side here. Now I was worried, we're going to do this very carefully because I was worried about putting too much pressure on these little mounting flanges, but look how thick they are. I think, you know, we'll be alright for, you know, 150-pound Outdrive. So I got to get it up in the air so that way I can prep the bottom side. And then you take etching primer and we'll etch all the exposed areas. And then I went to Tractor Supply and I got Tractor Farm and Implement, Tractor Implement black paint. It's this gloss black enamel, and I got hardener. You add this to this and this stuff dries fast, and it also dries hard as nails. That seems to be the best option for doing something like this. And to be honest with you, I think we're going to have to replace the lower unit next year. I see something going on. It's like he had an impact point on this bottom part down here, and it's kind of, they're slightly twisted. But like I said, there's no vibration whatsoever. We're going to kind of run it like it is for right now. And if I have to, I'll order a lower end from SEI or SEA or whatever, SEI, which is the stern drive remanufacturer. They make a lower for this for about $1,000. So that's what I'm going to work on today. Get it all sanded down, get it primed, and see if we can get a coat squirted on there. I got to get it outside once I get up in the air and wash it really good with soap and water. Get all the debris out of the way. You want to make sure you get all these little spots down in here clean. Then we'll wrap this with painter's tape so that way you don't paint these bolts. And there's little prep stuff that you got to do. Wrap the paper around all this mess. Also, I'm going to drain the gear oil out of this and just make sure we don't have any water in it. There wasn't any in the reservoir inside, but who knows what it's going to be like in there. Okay. Here's the good stuff. Look at all the shiny bits. This is the Corsa exhaust system. Look at that big giant thing. These are going to go on the side here, on the side of the boat. So here's the back. They're going to be sticking out the back here. And they go up to these little diverters, which I'll put out on the ground here. They replace this little spot up at the top of the engine where your elbow comes down to the transom. Let's see if we can carry this over here. I'll actually show you what it does. Let me put the camera down and get this out of its bag. I got this mounted up here so you can see what I'm describing. Alright, so this, what we'll do is we remove this piece right here. This goes in line like this, but of course over. And this will join to the Y pipe. This will in turn go out to the side of the boat, and there's 4-inch, what do you call it, 4-inch exhaust tube that goes out and meets to that little collector that I showed you earlier for the exit. And they have little solenoids right here that actually go, and they actuate a little piece inside there. I can't open it right now, but if you can see down inside there, there's a little flapper that opens up. So whenever you want it to be quiet, you flip it and it closes, and it goes through the Outdrive. But when you want to be obnoxiously loud, like I like to be sometimes, you flip it open and this goes out to the side. Just search on YouTube Sea Ray 220 Corsa, and you'll see one on there that's got it running, and it's got the small block in it, and it sounds pretty awesome. But I can tell you, I'm impressed with how Corsa did all this. Very easy to order. They're expensive, but They are well worth the money. This stuff is beautiful. Everything's included. All the instructions. You have your choice of what you do for your side pipes here. These are the basic ones. I couldn't go with the bigger ones. They're a little too expensive for what I wanted. And these just look good. They're plain. The boat's not super fancy, and that's what it is. And it's got these little flappers on the inside. And so that way they keep water from rushing back in. I mean, just the fit and finish and the quality on all this stuff, I'm really amazed. I mean, they did their homework on all this stuff. They include everything in this nifty box. There's another one of our little deals. And then when you open up here, it comes with all the clamps that you need. It comes with the wiring harness and a 50 amp, it's a 20 amp circuit breaker, and then your 4-inch hose to go off the side of the boat. And that's more than enough hose to make it happen. So, then they came with the instructions and all the information. The only thing it doesn't come with is a toggle switch to go on your dashboard to adjust your, or to turn it on and off. That's the only thing you have to add, which every boat has a different one, so I'll match the one to the Sea Ray. So that's the big arrival for this week. What the plan is with this is we're going to get the engine in, get these things mounted, and then mount the hose going over to the side. We're going to go drop it in the water and see where the water level ends up. And that way I can mark it, and then I can put the side exit exhaust where it needs to be, above the water line. So that's it, guys. I'm going to go back over to this. We're going to get it up in the air, start getting it cleaned up, finish the sanding. We'll etch prime it and then throw some black paint on it. You talk about a relief whenever you drain the Outdrive and there's no water in it. That's awesome. There is not. Usually what you'll do is you'll see it'll be milky and you'll have little swirls of like white in there, or if it's really bad you'll have lots of like tan. So this is nice, and it's the proper color. This is what you're supposed to do every season. You're supposed to replace it. So and it's weird. I was looking all over on this Bravo drive where the drain hole was. It's actually right here on the inside. It's not on the front like it is on an Alpha. You still have your fill hole at the top, but you know, it's not there. But also it has a little magnet on it to attract little fine pieces of metal. And there's a little on here. It's not over the top. I mean, this is 15 years old. So there's not like big chunks and just a giant amount of it. I mean, there's just teeny tiny bits of it. So what you want to do is you want to replace these O-rings, which I've already ordered some of those. Now that I got her all sanded down really good and washed off, I got out here with soap and water and scrubbed every nook and cranny. I'm going to put it back in the garage here, and we're going to shoot all the bare spots with self-etching primer. It contains an acid that actually grabs hold of the aluminum. You can't just put regular primer down. You got to put an etching primer down to make sure that it grabs hold. So, and you can, I mean, look at this wind, guys. It's gusting to 40 to 45 miles an hour today. I feel sorry for anyone who's on the lake. This has been like this for about 3 days. Just incredible amounts of wind. It's 102, 103 with wind blowing 40 miles an hour. So it's kind of like a blast oven out here. So I'm going to pull this in and shoot some of that etch primer on it, let it dry, and then we'll mix up. The way this works is you mix this up first, and then it has to sit for 30 minutes to fully basically kick. It's not like this to where you mix it and it immediately starts going with, I'm sorry, the resin, pointing with the mixing buckets. With resin, you mix it in and it immediately starts, you got time ticking. You get about 8 hours to mess with this stuff. So we'll go ahead and do the primer, and then I'll put a little bit in for the first coat, mix it up, let it sit for 30 minutes, and then we'll shoot a coat. She is wearing her primer. I went ahead and did the whole thing. You're supposed to only just do the bare spots, but the primer actually is an adhesion promoter because it's an etching primer, so it's helping out a little bit. You see the dark areas? That's actually called dry spray, and that's one thing you got to watch out for whenever you are spraying in hot weather like this. Is being that that's kind of a lacquerish primer. It wants to dry before it hits, so you get a lot of dry spray going on it. So what you have to do is let this dry. You go over with a 3M pad to get rid of all the dry spray before you shoot it with the black. So it's done. I'm going to let it sit for about 30 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and mix up some of the enamel, and get ready to shoot it. I'm gonna get my spray gun. I'm going to use a standard HVLP gun, and we're just going to shoot it standard black. Real easy. We're not trying to go for just a super glassy finish. It's just something to protect it. It was starting to get some corrosion and some pitting and stuff like that. We want to try to preserve it as long as possible, you know, because honestly I don't want to spend $2,800 on a new drive anytime in the future. You know, we will if we have to, but you know, I spent enough money on this damn boat. So anyway, I'm going to go take a load off for a little while and mix this up, let it kick for 30 minutes, and then we'll spray. We are all mixed up. I put in a pint of paint, and then I put 29 milliliters, according to my calculations, of hardener in. And the enamel smells like enamel, the hardener smells like urethane. It's kind of weird. It's got an interesting smell to it. And then I added some naphtha, which is thinner, basically, and it's designed for spraying enamel. Whenever you roll enamel, you use mineral spirits, and whenever you spray, you use naphtha. It evaporates pretty quickly. So we're going to use this, and I'll probably have to add more because I wasn't really thinking, is that this evaporates pretty quickly, and it has to sit for 30 minutes while the enamel hardener kicks in. So what we'll do is we'll probably have to add some more naphtha back in to get to our consistency that'll spray through our gun. You want it fairly thin. You don't want it like that syrup that comes out of enamel. You want it, you know, so it lays down nice and thin, and you can put a couple of thin coats on to make it nice and pretty. So what I'm going to do is, it says to stir often, or about every 10 minutes, while it's sitting for 30 minutes. Once we'll come out with 30 minutes, I'll come out and use this little spray gun, which is my little HVLP, set to 29 psi. We'll pour it in there. We'll do a couple of test stripes. I'll close the garage door because it's blowing about 400 miles an hour, and I'll shoot a coat and just see how it goes. If it comes out crappy, not a huge deal. Usually I use the spray bombs to do these outdrives, but this will be kind of a harder finish, make it look nicer. There is 2 coats over 2 hours of farm implement black paint. It looks pretty darn good. The first coat went on kind of thick. I had a problem with shooting it through the gun. I was going to videotape it, but it was jacking up and frustrating me. So I ended up thinning it out quite a bit, and it went on much better once I thinned it. The problem is I couldn't get up underneath here really well, which is the bottom part of the drive output, the output shaft. And I got a run on the skeg, which I pride myself when I paint stuff never getting any runs. Well, I got a run today, so first time for everything. No, I can't say that. There's been runs before. But anyway, so I got two coats on there. We're gonna let it dry overnight, flash off. It's nice and shiny. You can see yourself in it. It's got some orange peel, but you know, it's enamel. That's what's gonna happen. Yeah, you can see yourself in it. It's pretty good. I'm happy. It's you know, considering I'm probably gonna replace the lower unit anyway, unless I can get that center thing done at a decent price. I'll probably start shopping around replacing that that shaft because it's twisted here pretty quick, and see, you know, just exactly how hard or how much it's going to cost to replace, or if it's just better to go ahead and replace the lower unit. But it's painted, done. Now it can just hang here. We'll probably take the tape off. Look at there, got a silver thing. Take the tape off. That way it doesn't dry. Oh, I'm not going to be able to get that one. It's too far down there. I'll have to get my tweezers out. Oh, this stuff is sticky. But with the hardener, supposedly by tomorrow morning, this stuff should be fairly hard. Usually with enamel, it takes forever and a day for the stuff to dry and get hard. But apparently the hardener is supposed to change all that. So we'll see in the morning. Let's hope it hanging up like this overnight ain't going to hurt it. I may set it down after midnight or so, but I think it looks okay. That's it for today. I'm going inside, take me a shower, have a beer, relax, and maybe we'll drill the holes tomorrow through the transom. I'm supposed to go out to my mom's house tomorrow, so I probably won't do a whole lot of work, but we'll see if we'll get that. I'm going to get a little jig from Home Depot that allows you to keep the drill perfectly perpendicular to the back, so that way when you drill the holes, I think it's a 9/16 inch hole. But anyway, we'll worry about that tomorrow. We're gonna let this dry. One more thing checked off the list.